With a pretty much second brand new map, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is full of really unique and cool locations. In last episode, we talked about 7 locations that we thought were really cool that most of you guys probably missed, and you guys sent in even more locations for us to go over. So this is part 2 for locations you could have missed in The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Now, real quick guys, some of these locations will be based on side quests. That's just how it is. There are tons of side quests in this game, so some of them are just going to line up that way. But also, if you want to send in your own locations, whether it's something really tiny and small that you liked in a location, or a location that's really big and just interesting to you and that you thought a lot of people could have missed, comment them down below and you could appear in the next video. Be descriptive, be very detailed so I can find your spot, and yeah, you could appear in the next video. Also, stop what you're doing, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. A lot of you guys watching this video right now are not yet subscribed. So stop what you're doing, leave a like and subscribe right now before we jump into the video. Did you do it? All right, I trust in you guys. Let's dive in. First on our list, we are going to Kakariko Village, and there is a very interesting bridge in this game, and it ties back to Breath of the Wild, which is something I also never knew. So underneath one of the bridges within the village, you can actually find an apple that's sitting underneath the bridge back in Breath of the Wild. But in Tears of the Kingdom, if you go back underneath this bridge, you can find 2 apples sitting here, which is pretty interesting. It's such a small little baby detail that Nintendo threw in here that many people probably would have never found, but that's just such an interesting little thing. I don't know if it ties to a certain character or something, but it's definitely interesting that there's 2 apples sitting here now. Like, who keeps putting these apples here? If there's a third game, there might even be 3 apples. Next up, we have Meda Mountain Hot Spring. Now, this is once again just like the apples underneath Kakariko Bridge, an interesting detail location, which I really love. So there is a natural hot spring right beside this mountain, and also right beside this mountain is a cavern into the depths. Obviously, hot springs heal you, and they are very hot. They're warm water hot springs. An interesting detail is this game shows why the water is hot. Now, this isn't at every single hot spring around the map, as some of them just don't have this in the depths, but this is a great place to see what I'm talking about. So if you dive down into the depths right below this hot spring and go right underneath where it is, you'll see 2 giant lava waterfalls pouring down into the cave ceiling, which is very interesting. So it shows that there is pools of magma and lava underneath these hot springs that's heating them up, and we can actually fly down into the depths and see these very same lava falls. Once again, it's just a location with a really cool detail, in fact, that helps to explain how things work on the map. It's a really nice detail. Next up, we have the Gerudo Prison Ruins. Now, this is actually the location of one of the shrines in this game, and I can already hear people complaining that this is a shrine location. How did we miss it? But I can guarantee you there were some people that missed this really cool location, and I really want to talk about it mostly because it's really cool. It is an underground Gerudo prison with multiple branching paths and gates to open, including Gibdos that are crawling around this place. It gives a creepy vibe off, and also kind of some history and lore into the Gerudo, how they had this creepy ancient dungeon down here, probably for the most villainous criminals in the Gerudo region, which is also a little creepy. It's a cool place to kind of maneuver down, and you can find a bubble frog here, and also lots of different sections that you can go before you even reach the shrine. But the shrine location is also very mysterious for me. It's one of the last jail cells in this entire area, and it's blocked off and protected with multiple different levels of gates and switches, and also broken floors that you'll have to move to reveal even more hidden switches. Who was imprisoned here? That is very interesting. Now, I don't know if they tried to imprison Ganondorf once or twice down here, or maybe even someone more villainous, maybe Master Koga or somebody, but it's blocked off by lots of different subsections, which makes me think it had to be somebody of mass importance before this shrine was even placed here. Cora Lakefront Cave is probably one of the coolest locations that I've found so far. I love locations like this that hold no real significance to the story or any type of side quest, but just has a really unique looking area. Now, there is a bubble frog down here, but that's really about it. In Tears of the Kingdom, there's a really cool ravine now that splits these rocks apart and opens up a brand new skylit cave, which is amazing. There's tons of holes that you can see from the top, and just looking down into this thing and its multiple different layers and sections going down into the cave is a beautiful sight to to be seen. There's tons of luminous stones that's embedded into the side of the rock that can also glow throughout the tops of the cave, which makes it look even prettier at night than it does during the day. But you can crawl down inside and there's even more layers that go deeper, and you can just see the holes in the ceiling of this cave, and it's just a beautiful place to walk through. Seeing the water drip off the walls and the ceiling of the cave as well gives off a really cool cave echo sound, and also the horriblins that are below you kind of echo throughout the cave, and it makes a mysterious sound. Just take a listen. And like I said, the multiple different layers that you can continue to go up and down definitely do not disappoint, and it just ties into the scenery perfectly. Seeing the sun shine through the top of the cave is one of the most beautiful spots I've seen so far in Tears of the Kingdom. Next up, we have the Spring of Revival, which is a really neat area and callback to Breath of the Wild. Now, if you look above ground, this is going to be located directly underneath the Shrine of Resurrection, where Link actually was revived in that pool within the beginning of Breath of the Wild. And this is directly below it, which might explain where those waters came from. This is a secret Spring of Revival, which might be very much hidden only for the Zonai back then. As you can see a statue of either Zelda or Sonia that guards it and watches over it. What makes this secret spring so secret? Well, I'm not quite sure. It might be a way to heal wounds, and only the highest members of Hyrule wanted to keep this known. And this might be where they took people that got damaged in battle or are severely injured. Ironically enough, there's two Poes that are sitting here in this Spring of Revival, which maybe they didn't get revived enough and they ended up dying. The entrance to this place is absolutely massive, as if it was a giant welcoming place, and it wasn't that much of a secret because it's huge with a giant gate to get through, and you can even climb to the top of this thing and see what looks like to be multiple different seating areas. So I don't know if there were like rituals down there within the waters, like a way to bathe yourself to become one with Hyrule or something, or if it was just a big emergency healing area where they had to hurry up and rush people to heal here. But there's a lot of big monumental seating areas and staircases that lead around this place, which makes it seem like it was more than just a healing area. Whatever the main purpose was for, it seems like the Sheikah were able to use some of this water for the resurrection of Link all the way back in Breath of the Wild somehow. Maybe some of the water still seeped up to the above ground, it's hard to say. Unfortunately, the Akala Citadel didn't hold a lot of new changes within Tears of the Kingdom, but underneath it definitely did. The ancient underground fortress is right underneath Akala Citadel, which is a really cool area. Obviously, this now goes down deep into the ground instead of up on the mountain like Akala, but this area is also very interesting. There's tons of lookout areas all the way along the top, and towards the bottom seems to be houses or some type of huts where people either worked or did some type of training, which is really cool. Now, this is called an underground fortress, which means it probably wasn't any type of school or neighborhood or anything like that, but there's definitely buildings down there where maybe they had training posts and maybe where the soldiers slept as they were training down there. As you can also see lots of Poes in lots of these buildings as well, which made it seem like there were people that lived there. There's even one building with a big Poe and lots of little ones around it, as if it was like a teacher of some sort. This place almost reminds me of like a military training ground, if anything, or maybe like a last resort protection area for people, and they had homes here and somehow the monsters got in. It's really hard to say, but if that is a home and that was like the mother and her kids, that's sad. We dive back into the depths one last time and we go underneath Tough Mountain, which gives us the ancient observation deck. Now, this area is very much a mystery. There's actually a really neat reference to Breath of the Wild that I really enjoyed. You had to do a side quest to get Wobbin and Perda together, and they did so at this heart-shaped lake. Now in Tears of the Kingdom, they're very much separated, as Wobbin is stuck in prison in the Gerudo town, but that's for another time. But this heart-shaped lake actually translates all the way down into the depths as a heart-shaped island. And on this island, there's also two lovers that once was there, but now they are lost souls as Poes, which is very sad, and I wonder what the story was behind that couple. But with that said, there's also a giant lookout observation deck at the very top that you can look over, and I'm trying to figure out what it was for exactly, as nothing's really down there but water, and it's in a cavern, so it's not like you can look out at much down here. So what was down there at one time? It makes me wonder if there was some type of giant beast or some type of creature or something that the people used to talk to. It almost kind of rebuilds this whole depths as if it was like a whole world in and of itself with different locations and just looked completely different back then. And I kind of wish we could go back in time to see what this whole depths looked like, but that's obviously for a future theory. With the many different lookout points and the staircases that take you to the lookout deck itself, there's some really cool things to look at down here. You just might have to light the way because even with all the light routes, it's a very dark location. But that was 7 more locations that you probably missed in the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Once again, guys, comment down below any locations that you found that you find to be super interesting or secretive or unique to you. These could be big or small, just comment them down below and you could appear in the next video. Also, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things The Legend of Zelda and Tears of the Kingdom. And like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See ya, guys.